All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Land of Chem. I am your host and the author. My name is Jeffrey Drum. Thank you all so much for joining me again. All right, everyone, welcome back. And finally, the moment you have all been waiting for. This is episode 65, the full documentary expose on the Osiris shaft, featuring exclusive footage from this year's 2022 Ancient Alchemy and Ascension Research Expedition, when I obtained special permission from the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities to enter and record in this off-limits area. I will also be discussing another chemical analysis of a metallic coating compound that was discovered sealing the containers that are housed in the second level of this underground system. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a ton of material to cover today, so buckle your seatbelts. It's about to get wild. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube and click that little notification button so that you do not miss the new videos when they premiere every single week. If you want to help support the channel, just go to thelandofchem.com. You can pick up a limited first edition print copy of the book. Grab yourself some Land of Chem merch. Either way, all the orders mean the world to me. Thank you all so much for your support. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my handle is @thelandofchem. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that is it for today's intro. So without further ado, let's get right to it. All right, everyone, here we go with tonight's episode. So first off, let's start with the location and configuration of the Osiris shaft system, which you can see here depicted in these diagrams. This is a 33-meter underground system with 3 separate levels that were all carved directly from the bedrock below the Giza Plateau. And this system is located just off the causeway leading from the eastern temple of the Central Pyramid down towards the Sphinx, which you can see here. And the entrance to the Osiris shaft is located just over here. So this is the causeway running above, and this is the entrance into the Osiris shaft system. And there are numerous of these shaft openings scattered all over the Giza Plateau. And just looking at it, you would have no idea what actually lies underground beneath this metal gate. But it is one of the most spectacular off-limit sites in all of Egypt. And every time I'm on the Giza Plateau, especially now knowing what is actually down there, I always wonder what is still hidden in all of the other underground shaft systems below the pyramids. And here is another diagram showing the internal configuration of the system so you can get some orientation for where we are in the video. So they open up the gate for us here. We then enter and prepare all of our gear and get ready to descend down to the first level over here. Once we get to the second level, the electricity goes out and the adventure starts to get even more real. We then descend down to the second level, which is approximately 45 feet down on a very sketchy metal ladder in the complete pitch black darkness with only our headlamps to light the way. And you will see in the video my real-time reaction to reaching and seeing the second level of the Osiris shaft system for the very first time. After investigating the housings and the on this second level, we then proceed further underground to the third, where we finally reached the subterranean lagoon with 4 pillars surrounding an underwater black granite container. And I wanted to share this diagram specifically because it shows the shaft system at the back of the third level, which you can see here, that was discovered and reported by Zahi Hawass in their official exploration of these chambers. And it is said that this shaft system possibly connects back to the subterranean chamber of the Great Pyramid. But you can also see in this sketch that it branches off into 2 different directions. So who knows where these really go? And we know for sure that these are just one example of the prolific underground shaft systems running beneath the Giza Plateau. So again, this could be just one example of what can still be found buried underneath these pyramids. All right, next up, on to the composition and dating of the containers found on this second level. And this is a spectacular picture of the first of 2 containers that still remain in their original housings. And there are several extremely significant details about this container, which is found here in this housing over here. The first being its mineral composition, and the following comes from the Versadoco YouTube channel, which I have mentioned before, regarding the chemical analysis of these metal saw blades. And the research was conducted by Dr. Robert Temple in his geological analysis of these containers, links in the video description below. So samples were taken from this container, and the mineral analysis revealed that the stone is something called dacite. And you may be saying to yourself, I've never heard of dacite before, and you would not be the only one. In fact, dacite has never been found at any other site in Egypt, nor have any other artifacts ever been found that use this type of stone. It is a complete anomaly in terms of the typical geology, but that's not even the most interesting thing about this container. In the entire continent of Africa, there are no dacite deposits large enough to harvest a container of this size, so the stone itself had to come from somewhere outside of Africa, and some deposits of dacite have been found here in the Sinai Peninsula and also here around the Persian Gulf, which ranges from anywhere from 300 kilometers to more than 2,000 kilometers away, which brings into question two things. Why did they go through such immense effort to transport the stone all the way to Giza? Clearly, at one point, they had the capability of moving this stone, and they must have done it for a very specific purpose. So secondly, why was it never done again? Next up, on to the dating of these containers, which was performed using a novel technique developed by Ioannis Laritsis called optical thermoluminescence. And this procedure involves measuring the amount of free electrons that have been trapped inside crystal within the stone. So when a stone is in the quarry, it is absorbing free electrons from the surrounding radiation of its environment. Then, once that stone is cut from the quarry and exposed to sunlight, those electrons are bleached out of the crystal, which sets the clock to 0. Then, later, when the stone has been placed inside of the construction, it begins to absorb electrons from the environment again, which allows a date to be calculated from the time when the stone was originally quarried. This technique was applied to the dacite container, and it was determined that this stone is from approximately 3,350 BC, which is conservatively almost 850 years before the construction above ground on the Giza Plateau. So this underground Osiris shaft system is almost 1,000 years older than the pyramids themselves. However, there is one very compelling caveat about this dating technique, which is that this methodology can also be applied to determining when the stone was last heated to a high temperature, as this causes the exact same bleaching as exposure to sunlight. So this date may not be the date when these stones were excavated from the quarry, but rather the last time this system was operational, as according to my theory, these containers would have absolutely been getting very, very hot. Which brings me to point number 3 regarding the composition of this dacite container, and again, that is the mineralogy of this stone. Dacite is composed of a similar material to that of red granite. However, where the red granite contains large pieces of quartz crystal, dacite contains microcrystalline quartz that can only be seen with a microscope. So here, ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to drop a major detail about the function of the geology and of these containers. Remember from the electromagnetic field experiment that the crystalline quartz in the red granite absorbs the electromagnetic energy and causes the crystal within the stone to vibrate and produce ultrasonic sound frequencies. This is due to the inverse piezoelectric properties of quartz that are utilized in modern devices such as ultrasound machines, which operate on the exact same principle. And these pieces of quartz within the stone are acting like tiny little transmitters and amplifiers of these frequencies. For example, when I put my hand close to the machine, I can feel some vibrations. However, when I put my hand near the granite on top of the machine, the vibrations coming from the stone are much more intense. So, if regular granite has a certain quantity of these crystalline quartz amplifiers, dacite has an exponentially higher quantity, making the stone vastly more effective for the transmission and transformation of the electromagnetic energy into sound. So the question remains, what exactly was the function of these containers? And I'll be getting to that very soon, so please subscribe and stay tuned. Alright, next up, on to the chemical analysis, which was taken from the second container found on this second level within the Osiris shaft system. And underneath a layer of pitch or bitumen, they discovered yet another metallic coating compound that has been applied to the exterior of this container. So the layer of tar or pitch that you will see in the video is modern, and it dripped down from a mechanical wheel that you will see in the video that was used by archaeologists excavating the site. So the quote-unquote black goo that people always talk about is essentially modern axle grease. However, underneath this layer was revealed this metallic coating compound. And this compound consists of lead, titanium, arsenic, zinc, and iron. So for any of you that have been following my work and the chemical analyses from the Red Pyramid, these metals should come as no surprise. But now we are adding something new into the mix, which is lead. And at this point, I will mention that Dr. Robert Temple and his colleagues took a Geiger counter down into the Osiris shaft, and they determined that the radioactivity inside of the containers was double that of the ambient radiation inside the chamber itself. So what the hell is the Osiris shaft? We have exotic stone containers composed of extremely effective microcrystalline quartz resonance amplifiers that have been coated with a lead and titanium-based sealing compound and radioactivity inside of these containers. So is this an underground repository for the storage of radioactive waste material? No, I do not think so. However, recall from episode 55 that I was discussing the black sands of Egypt, the true chem of this ancient civilization, and how these mineral sands contain radioactive uranium and thorium ore. And for now, I will leave it at that and let your imagination run wild. All right, everyone, just a quick reminder that if you want to help support the channel, just go to thelandofchem.com. You can pick up a hoodie, a long sleeve t-shirt, one of the original Land of Chem t-shirts with the new 5th degree logo, or the OG logo designed by yours truly. A 45-45 90-degree triangle representing the Red Pyramid of Dashur with molecular ammonia inside the structure, and of course, limited first edition print copies of the book, The Land of Chem, an initiation into ancient chemistry through the degrees of the Egyptian pyramids. So if you want to help support the channel, just go to the website. You can grab a hoodie, t-shirt, pick up a copy of the book. Either way, all the orders mean more to me than words can possibly ever describe. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. So now, on to our expedition into the Osiris shaft, and you can see here, Yusuf climbing up from the second level as we began to ascend back to the surface, and looking down into the shaft with the lights off was like staring down into the abyss. There was absolutely no way to see the bottom, and it was seemingly endless, climbing this thing all the way down. And as I began to explore the second level, I immediately noticed and began to document the huge deposits of iron oxide that span the top of each container housing in this chamber. And these deposits look like massive oxidized bars of metallic iron running across the top of each chamber. And these have never once been mentioned in any discussion about the Osiris shaft. I even pulled the original archaeological report produced by Zahi Hawass and his colleagues, and there is not one single mention of this iron. And as usual, these deposits have been removed from some areas, and you can see here this large area at the back of one of the empty container housings on the second level. This would have been completely filled with that iron oxide, which then branched out down into the floor. And I would propose that these chambers were precisely excavated to intentionally tap into these underground iron deposits, exactly as the pyramids on the surface have iron integrated into the construction, as shown in episode 62, Major Discoveries from Inside the Central Pyramid, link in the video description below. And next up, here are a few images of the container from which that chemical analysis was performed. And all of this black stuff that you can see here is the axle grease from the wheel that you will see in the video that was used during the modern excavations. This is not ancient, and it is not mysterious black goo. It is modern axle grease. And this container is the one located over here, which they did not test for mineral composition, but it appears to be black basalt. And finally, Yusuf and I descend down to the final level, which you can see here. Down this extremely unstable and rickety metal ladder to investigate this underground lagoon. And you can see here the crystal clear blue water and the remains of the 4 pillars that once surrounded this underwater black granite container, which was opened by Zahi Hawass and his team. And of course, they found it completely empty. exactly as it should be, because there was never anything that was supposed to go inside of here. So now, I hope I have your full attention, and without further ado, here is the exclusive footage from one of the greatest adventures of my entire life, my private, special permission access into the Osiris shaft. I hope you enjoy. All right, everyone, welcome back. We are here on the causeway in front of the Central Pyramid of Giza, and as Yusuf and I like to call it, the real Great Pyramid. You can see here the remains of the Valley Temple on the eastern side, and this is the causeway system leading down toward the Valley Temple. And you can see here scattered along the sides of the causeway are these shaft systems that descend down into the bedrock of the plateau. And in just a moment we will be getting access into the Osiris shaft, 35 meters underneath the Giza plateau, and filled with some very unusual artifacts indeed. And we have a lot of interesting research to share that I can guarantee you will not see anywhere else. Today is going to be an incredibly exciting day for me. I've been anticipating this expedition for quite some time, and I feel very, very grateful and fortunate to be able to spend the day with my good friend once again, Yusuf Awian of the Kemet School of Ancient Mysticism. The best guide in all of Egypt and a great personal friend. So Yusuf, thank you so much.
Thank you, brother,
for once again taking the opportunity to show me things that I never thought I would have the opportunity to see. So again, truly grateful and thankful for the opportunity to bring you this content, because it's not about me. I do this for you. And we're going to be seeing some things today that not a lot of people have the opportunity to see. So I will do my best to bring you the best footage possible as we walk down the causeway to investigate some of these shafts before they open up the gate. And we're taking a walk down the causeway leading from the Central Pyramid down to the Valley Temple. And as always, we like to point out the large deposits of iron oxide. And this is a huge vein here. And Yusuf and I have discovered in, I believe, the 2020 expedition that there are iron oxide deposits inside the core of the Central Pyramid itself. So remember that these structures are built upon a mound of natural bedrock. And inside of that bedrock core, there are also these iron oxide deposits. And we're going to be showing that later on today's trip. And you can see here, let me walk over here. This is one of the massive shafts that are located all over this area, descending down into the bedrock. And just standing here, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I mean at least a dozen, just in this little small area. 12 massive paths. Just, you know, God only knows how far down those things go. And we'll be taking a little journey down in one of these.
what were these created for? Symbolic burials? According to some of the information I got from some of the inspectors who works here on the Giza Plateau, no burials were found down there except some burials from the Site period, the 26th dynasty. That's somewhere around 600 BC. So the Site period was known to be settling and repurposing a lot of the structures that they inherited, just like history repeats itself. And down in the second level in the Osirian shaft, we will be also looking at repurposing progress for some of the cuts in the ground were being formed to house burials. So this proves that some of the ancient rock cut chambers also can be transformed to be repurposed as tombs later.
Absolutely. And what Yusuf was just referring to is something they call in archaeology an intrusive burial, where the structure existed first and somebody came in later and dug a hole into the side of the mound or the pyramid, for example. And in these 3 small pyramids on the side of the Great Pyramid here, the inner chambers have been carved with small statues and decoratory items. That doesn't necessarily mean that was the original intention.
It's just very similar when you enter a temple and you find that a part of it was used as a church. Can we deny that it was a church? No. But was it originally a church? No as well. So we can find many shafts on the causeway, and the fact that the Osiris shaft is on the causeway, that's why we cannot separate it from the pyramid complex. And that's why it can lead us to believe that more of these shafts could be part of the pyramid complex, what's running underneath the primordial mound.
And that was my first thought as well as we began our walk down the causeway. So once you see what's inside of the Osiris shaft, you'll know. But if those artifacts are located down there, how many more similar shafts containing what artifacts are there buried underneath the plateau in these unexcavated pits? Because a lot of these things are just filled with dirt and trash, and they haven't been fully excavated all the way down to the bottom.
We have a whole bunch of them right there that we can go after
in the distance.
Or before the visit. Our visit is about to begin. So perhaps after we come out from the Osirian shaft, we can wander around some of the other shafts to see a very odd design, even if we cannot call it a tomb or anything. Because it has another corridor, like another shafts that surrounds that other shaft, and it used to be cased. A lot of things are connected to the possibility of an underground labyrinth, especially the one that was mentioned about the Sphinx by the soldiers of Napoleon and other travelers and the treasure hunters and things like that since a very long time, and they believe that there is a passage that runs and that this tunnel system is part of it. Not all of it.
Right.
We know some of it was achieved during the dynastic Egyptian time, but a lot of it only housed very basic and simple burial, which doesn't fit that the shaft was originally created for that reason, but it looks more like it was repurposed for that reason.
And something that Yusuf and I were just discussing is that this whole complex, the pyramids, the causeways, the valley temples, and the shaft systems, is all an integrated network. These things operated together. It's all part of a large system. So to really be able to fully understand the full scope of work, so of course I'm interested in the function of what's going on inside of the pyramids, but that's just one aspect of what was capable of being achieved using this system.
And if we compare, this, by the way, is the Osirian shaft,
where
we will enter from here, from the side. Compare its size to the other ones, and it will be one of the really small ones in comparison with this one over here, or that fence over there, down there. So imagine when we look into these deep shafts, it could be just like this one, that when you are looking into the depths of the other shafts, you're only looking at the first level. And why not have 2 other levels, just like that example we have over here?
And I just zoomed into the distance so you can see that there are tons of these metal fences around these shaft systems, and they're really all over the place. And once I get zoomed back out here, this is the one that we will be descending into today. Of course, not much to look at from up here, but just wait till you see what's inside. And we have some remarkable new research to share that I just happened to stumble across maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, as I was preparing myself to enter down in this shaft system. I wanted to know what I was going to see down there. And we discovered something truly amazing. And I'll be sharing that with you live inside the Osiris shaft here in just a moment. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the moment we have all been waiting for. And I'm not even going to call this a door. We will call this a portal into the underworld of the Giza Plateau. The Osiris shaft. And so you can see here, this is the pit leading down to the first level. And there are 3 levels in this system. And I'm going to be bringing you exclusive footage as Yusuf and I descend into the shaft to investigate the mysterious containers that are located 35 meters underneath the Giza Plateau. All right, brother. We're all suited up and ready to go.
All right.
I'm super excited.
Let's get
going. This is
going.
going to be awesome. All right. Without further ado.
We are now descending to the first level.
I'll wait for you.
Okay.
And here's Yusuf coming down to join me on the first level. And it does not get much more than private access than this, ladies and gentlemen.
So, usually, when we are wandering around the Giza Plateau, we look through the shafts and we see a shaft that leads to somewhere else. But we never know where actually it leads to until we get down here.
Exactly.
So if you can look here, we are already on the bottom of the first level.
Probably 20, 30 feet. About 10 meters.
About.
And this is below the causeway, because we just took that video from up there looking into that gate.
Yeah.
So
now
you can...
imagine the challenge without this electricity.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is one of the other things. How could they create light down there? No torches, there is no oxygen.
And look,
reflecting the light through these passages.
And this is something that we noticed in the Serapeum as well. There are no carbon deposits on the ceilings. And if this was dug out and explored with torches, you'd expect to see a pretty exceptional amount of soot down in here, which certainly don't. And this is step number 2. Yes.
Look, you will go first.
Is down this one.
And I will follow you.
Slowly but surely. Stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I am now down here in the second level of the Osiris shaft. And I am going to give you my first reaction to being down in here. I have waited 4 trips to Egypt and my entire life to do something like this. And they had the electricity turned on, which went out as soon as we started to climb down in here, which in my personal opinion makes it even more badass. And you can immediately see the shiny coating material that has been applied to this container. And when Yusuf gets down here, we are going to do a full discussion and explanation of exactly what this material is. And that's right, ladies and gentlemen, a chemical analysis was done of this material. And when I tell you what it is as remarkable as the chemical analysis of the staining in the Red Pyramid. And it's an indication of the capabilities of this ancient civilization. And just a note, you can see the deposit of iron oxide there. Kind of no surprise whatsoever that we would find that down in here, because I truly believe that those iron oxide deposits are a functional part of this structure. You can see here another deposit up in that corner, and they say that originally all 6 of these housings were filled with containers. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 housings down here, but only 2 boxes remain. And this one here is an absolutely magnificent artifact, and it is made of one of the most unusual materials ever found in Egypt. Specifically so because this material is not found in Egypt. It is not found in any other site in Egypt, no other container, nor are there deposits of this material anywhere in Egypt. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a material known as dacite. And it is said to have an extremely high content of crystalline quartz, microcrystalline quartz. So we've been discussing the properties of quartz crystal as related to the electromagnetic energy field that we tested on some of the stones of the pyramid geology. So first question is, where did they find the quarry for this material? Because you would have to have a massive deposit of dacite to be able to extract a piece large enough to be able to make a container out of one single piece. So this is an exceptionally rare material found in Egypt, or found in this site specifically. Second question is, how the hell did they get it all the way here? Clearly they were experts at extracting and moving stone, but it is an exceptionally long distance. And then as we turn back around, now that Yusuf's down here, we can discuss a little bit about the coating material that is found on here. And one other thing to mention, there have been other research expeditions down inside this shaft system, and they brought Geiger counters down in here. And they found that the level of radioactivity inside of these containers is significantly higher than the ambient radioactivity in the cavity itself. And I'm going to be showing some video from the research expedition and the research team that took the analysis and did the Geiger counter. But I'm going to cut and we'll be back in just a moment. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Yusuf and I are down here inside the second level of the Osiris shaft system. And as I was researching in preparation for this expedition, I came across a research team that had taken chemical analysis of the material that you see coating this container. Now there's two separate layers in the analysis of this coating. So the first and external level is a coating of bitumen, tar, or pitch, which most likely came from the modern time. It's like axle grease. And there's a big wheel right behind us in this other chamber. So clearly they had modern equipment down inside of this chamber.
Archaeologists
extracting whatever from down in here. And I guarantee you that pitch came from the wheel as they were moving the lid or something of that nature, setting up the equipment down here. So the external layer is that modern bitumen, tar, pitch, or grease. However, the chemical analysis from yet another Russian research team has shown that there's a layer underneath that, an ancient layer of, once again, rare exotic metals. And the chemical composition of the sealing layer, the coating layer that was originally applied to this container, is lead, titanium, arsenic, zinc, and iron. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Lead, titanium, arsenic, zinc, and iron. So this ancient civilization not only had the knowledge of exotic metals, but the ability to extract them and create compounds that were utilized to seal these containers. And I mentioned already that there was Geiger counter readings taken from inside of these containers, and the radioactivity inside of these containers is significantly higher than the ambient here in the chamber. So these are very, very unusual containers indeed, ladies and gentlemen. And once again, these are indicative of the knowledge and sophistication of this ancient civilization. So the question remains, what the hell are these things doing down here? And what was the function thereof? And that is why we're here, ladies and gentlemen, in the depths of the Giza Plateau in search of answers, the mysteries of ancient alchemy, and once again, the mysteries of ancient metallurgy.
You know, Jeff, I never heard of the original layer that you were just mentioning the analysis of, which makes me wonder right now. Who spilled this other type of oil, engine oil, on top of the box? And was that an accident?
Exactly.
And why it was not cleaned? You're down here, bro.
Thank you so much again,
hey.
Yusuf, for
this is a real adventure.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
A lifelong dream come true. Down here, 35 meters underneath the Giza Plateau. Special permission.
And we still have a level to go.
One more to go.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, one other thing to mention about these very unusual containers. So that same Russian research team did a new dating analysis of these stones. And the analysis technique involves analysis of chemical composition that is maintained in the crystalline material of the stone. And they can tell either when the stone was last exposed to the sun, which would give you the original quarrying date of the material, or the date that the material was brought here into the underground shaft. And that dating gives us a date of approximately 800 to 1,000 years prior to the construction of the monuments on the Giza Plateau. So 1,000 years before the dynastic period. These stones were extracted from the quarry and brought down here into the subterranean chamber. However, that dating analysis is also related to possibly being the last time that these stones were heated to a high temperature. And I'll show more analysis and breakdown of that explanation in the video from the research team. But this dating analysis technique will either give you a reading on when that stone was last exposed to the sun or when that stone was last heated to a high temperature. And that second factor is directly related to what I propose or will be proposing are the function of these containers. So let's say that 1,000 years prior to the construction of the Giza Plateau, or the conventional date rather, of the construction of the Giza Plateau, these containers were here in this subterranean system getting hotter and hotter and hotter. So what exactly was the function of these containers that are coated with rare exotic metals and contain traces of radioactivity inside of the cavity itself? An absolutely spectacular mystery that I am so unbelievably grateful to be a part of. It is truly amazing and a blessing. Alhamdulillah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I just made it down into the third and final level. And this is not what I was expecting. Look at this. Crystal clear water. And in the center of that water, you can see the container. And surrounding that container, you can see the remains of the 4 pillars that were originally down here. 2. There's 1. There's 1. And you can see here this piece of wood and rope that they most likely had a pulley on that was attached to move and remove that lid. And once again, they found nothing inside of that container. Man, if it was safe to do so, imagine taking a little swim around in this thing.
Been there, done that. But not anymore.
If you got some waders on and some good shoes, you can go in there. Man, this is absolutely amazing. And I don't know if they've gotten what type of... Yusuf, do you know if they know the type of stone?
It's black granite.
Black granite.
Like cyanide, similar to the one in the Serapi of Saqqara.
So, but look at just
Is
how...
there enough space for me to come?
Yeah, come on. I'll scoot out of the way. Look at how crystal clear that water is. And I'm trying to envision what this chamber would have been like in its original condition. And it's just unbelievably mind-blowing that this type of structure exists this far underneath the Giza Plateau. And this is just one shaft. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of these shaft systems.
It's not the largest.
And like Yusuf, you might have heard Yusuf above me coming down this ladder. It's not even the largest. So what would they find if they excavated all of these other shaft systems? How many more of these subterranean chambers and these spectacular containers made of rare geology and coated with exotic metals? What else is buried underneath the Giza Plateau? Well, we will probably never find out, but step by step we are extracting the mysteries of ancient Egypt. Stay tuned for more. Here, from the land of Kem, in the depths of the land of Kem, 100 feet, 35 meters underneath the Giza Plateau, in the 3rd level of the Osiris shaft. And ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Yusuf Alian, as we begin our ascent back to the surface of the Giza Plateau. And as we said before, this is the 2022 Land of Chem Ancient Alchemy and Ascension Tour. And we are literally in the process of being brought back to life as we ascend back to the sunshine of the Giza Plateau. This has been an absolutely spectacular experience, a one-of-a-kind, hopefully not once in a lifetime, but just the first of many expeditions down here into the depths of the Osiris shaft. Once again, thank you so much to Yusuf and the Kemet School of Ancient Mysticism for bringing me down in here. The Osiris shaft, ladies and gentlemen, here from the Land of Chem. All right, everyone. And here is my brother Yusuf ascending the staircase from the second level of the Osiris shaft system. And having just done that myself, it is no easy task to get down or up there. And we'll watch as Yusuf makes his way. All right, alhamdulillah. You can see how dusty it is in here. Whew. Whew. Almost there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, totally out of breath. We just climbed out 100 feet, 35 meters from the shaft system that you can see behind me.
Yeah.
The Osiris shaft. Investigating the mysteries of ancient alchemy, metallurgy, and ascension with the one and only Yusuf Awiyan.
Aloha.
Kemet School of Ancient Mysticism, and Jeff, the Land of Chem.
The Land of Chem.
Here, in the Land of Chem. All right, everyone, that is it for today's video. This was episode 65, The Land of Chem 2022 Ancient Alchemy and Ascension Research Expedition Recap Part 11, covering the Osiris shaft. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. And in the next episode in the series, a question: were the pyramids painted? Yet another chemical analysis, and the story will continue to get even more fascinating. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube. Click that little notification bell so that you do not miss the new videos when they premiere every single week. If you want to help support the channel, just go to thelandofchem.com. You can pick up a limited first edition print copy of the book, grab yourself some Land of Chem merch. Either way, all the orders mean the world to me. Thank you all so much for the support. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my handle is @thelandofchem. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that is it for today's episode. So I will see you next time. Yo, are you still watching this? Please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube and click that little notification button. New videos coming out every single week. And check out this other episode. Come on, do it. Do it now.